Good morning, Warriors! Back with another episode of Vigor Warriors 2 and the 1% Club. Hope you guys are having a great day. Hope you guys are on your purpose and plan and moving ahead. I think I'm hitting near 120 days, 820 days, so we're getting higher all the time. 820. I think I may do another one at 850, but maybe I'll wait. We'll see. My initial goal is 1,000, so we'll see what happens with that. And monk mode I think is up to 40 or 50 or something like that. We had to restart that because we lost a little bit of ground, but we're catching up again. Thank you guys so much again. I have to just continue to feel blessed and grateful for you guys, because I think I'm near 550 on subscriptions now, and I have lots of comments, great type of comments. I want to focus on something that Joe USA said. And I wanted to thank also Malik, Mark, a lot of people who, Curvy, Alvin, you guys are making a lot of great comments, and it is greatly appreciated. And I feel like very blessed that you guys are, paying attention, listening, and really enjoying the content and things that we're doing. And so I'm going to focus on that. I also had a nice question from Sawbone. And Sawbone, I'm going to try to combine this one a little bit. I may have to do it differently, but what we're going to talk about today is guilt, which Joe USA had talked about, the evil one, and semen retention. So let's kind of focus on this one a little bit. So, and once again, I'm going to put the donation in there. Please donate if you feel like that it's you can do that, and you want to kind of help the cause a little bit and get us more out there and information. Like I said, I'm saving a lot of the money to buy a computer to be able to do better videos than I'm doing now, and try to go ahead and do that. So I don't have the access, the funds at this point to be able to go ahead and buy something separately outside of what I'm doing and teaching and things like that. So I will have to kind of use only those resources that I end up getting from donations and things like that. So, but thank you guys, and I know Alvin and Curvy and people have donated in the past, so it is greatly appreciated, you guys. All right, so we talk about the fact that, and Joe USA mentioned it. He talked about a pretty honest kind of quote he made, talking about the fact that we are taught in society to feel guilty about things we do. And now that's an interesting type of question, because the guilt part is a very interesting type of concept. So we kind of are taught what is kind of right and wrong depending on our ideas and our religion, our upbringing, and things like that. And so down inside of each other, and I believe this is really the case, we have kind of an inner voice, a conscious, and a lot of that I believe is God. As I've grown older and hopefully a little bit wiser, I think I understand more about the idea of consciousness and how you have a conscious inside of you. Now, it can be darkened, it can be blocked out when people do so many different things that are evil, or they're trying to go away from God. I believe you're going to have that sort of feeling that it doesn't matter. And this is what happened to Pharaoh with Moses. This is what happened. His heart was darkened. He had no conscience. He didn't understand that what he was doing is wrong. We all have to have that type of thing. We have to have something within ourselves that tells us this is right and wrong, and we have to feel some guilt. Now, I know what Joe USA is saying, and I think he's correct in what he's saying, is that sometimes we kind of hit people over the head too much in religion and things like that with the idea of guilt. And that is, that's certainly not a good thing. And I think that a lot of times religion, that's a lot different than the actual faith and hope that you have. Some people are very good when it comes to religious types of mores and laws and denominational types of things, but then they fall short when it comes to the actual, and I've done a lot of both, but I have gone more away from the actual rules of the church and focusing more on the faith, as Joe was talking about. I think Joe is exactly right. We need to focus on faith and hope and love, and focus on Jesus, our God, our Creator. Sometimes the rules of the church can get involved. Now, the church is a great place, and I go to church, and I go to different places, and it's a wonderful type of thing. I teach at a school too, so at a Catholic school. So I see a lot of those type of things where they become valuable, because you want to be with fellowship, you want to be with people, you want to be in the house of God and Christ. But also realize that's not all there is. And so I think part of it then is that we feel inside of us that type of feeling. Now, how does that impact semen retention and the evil one? Now, and Sawbone makes a good point. He asks the question about whether or not all these things that happen to us really start off from a spiritual standpoint, and how do you kind of protect yourself from that? And that's a very perceptive point as well, just like Joe USA. I think you guys make a very perceptive type of ideas here. The evil one is present. I believe that's the case. Now, I believe you have a conscience yourself, but I also believe you're going to be tempted by the evil one in whatever you might have as a weakness, you might have as something that you're working on to get better. And so the evil one will test you. And the evil one will try to make you believe that you're doing something wrong. The whole purpose of the evil one is to get you away from God, to make you believe there is no God. And once they do that, well, then they have you. This is where we got people who harden their souls and harden their minds and all that. And that's when you lead to the fall of society, civilizations. When so many people become hardened, God has to destroy what's there, because those people have no belief in God, and they just feel they're the gods, and they're destroying them, basically destroying themselves. God's allowing it to happen, but they're destroying themselves. I mean, you can just destroy Babylon in like 1 hour. Sodom and Gomorrah, I think, in 1 hour. So all these things occurred very quickly but it took years of this lascivious, rampant deviant behavior, because people hardened their hearts. As the Bible talks about, they hardened their hearts because they didn't want to believe in God, and they also didn't want to follow their conscience to know that the voice inside their God is telling them, I shouldn't do this and do that. So you should not feel guilty. You shouldn't feel guilty about the guilt. That's a crazy way to say it, but you shouldn't feel guilty about the guilt that you have in following your God and your hope. But also, you should fear the Lord. Now that means you have to kind of try the best you can not to sin and not to do the things you can do. Now, sometimes you're in a battle where you're trying to continue to offset that, and the temptation, the flesh is very weak, so it's very easy to get caught up in that. But you have to continue to pray. You have to continue to meditate, continue to follow the things you're doing. I mean, at 820 days, it's been a challenge at times. The birds have flown over my head many, many, many times. You have to continue to kind of pound away. Remember, guys, and this is where I think Joe USA is really correct on. You should not feel bad about the journey and what you're doing on semen retention. Gentlemen and ladies, there's a few ladies that listen. You should not feel guilty about that at all. This is a lifestyle change that in the long run is better. No matter what society is telling you, no matter what's going on, this is why the Bible talks about that we don't live in the world. We live more in the spiritual world with the Lord. The principalities, all these people who tell you, well, this is the way to live, they're living the opposite way, in my opinion. They're living in a blue matrix. And this is why you see a lot of stuff, and even now coming out in different types of thoughts about things and what's happened in the world, that was false. It was all kind of just a made-up type of thing. And what it is people trying to gain control and power, and they want to become the God. This is what's really happening. They want to become the God. And when you look at dictators through history of the world, all the people that wanted power, the power is because they don't believe in God. They are God. And this is why they want the power, and more power to signify how godly they are. So this is where the problem occurs with a lot of these people. I mean, none of these people are gods, but they want to believe they're gods, and they go down that path and they harden their hearts, and so they have no guilty conscience. They have nothing. So be lucky that you have a guilty conscience, but don't bang yourself over the head on that, thinking that, well, that's something that is a problem. No, it's good that you have a guilty conscience, because obviously God is telling you this is right or wrong. Now you have to make the choice of following that or not following that, but the fact that you do feel guilty is a good sign, in my opinion, and those type of things. So I think certainly when you look at this whole idea, you're really kind of talking about it's important for you to talk with God, to have a way to communicate with your Lord and with your God. You need to have that. That's important. Once you do that, then you're able to kind of fight off any other type of thing that's temptation. And how do you know the difference, okay? And I think this goes back to a little bit of what Sawbone is saying. How can you tell the difference between the evil one and your conscience? Well, you know the rules and what's going on. You know the fact that the Bible talks about it. If you're following the Bible or a religious text that you're using, you are going to say, okay, these things are right, these things are wrong. And you kind of know that. If you look at the history of the world, you know degenerate behavior. They could put it and wrap it up any way they want to over the years, but behavior is wrong. And eventually comes back to hurt these people, because they just don't have that sort of understanding of God. And maybe, and I have a lot of empathy for all people, and I'm the last person to go ahead and judge anybody. But the bottom line really is that you're going to see people who just have not been brought up with any of this. And so you can't really in some ways blame them at some point, but at some point they're going to have to try to figure out as an adult what's happening in the world. And talk about the fact that they should know that they're not, as at some point in their life, they got to realize that they're not the creator of this world. And then therefore, who is? They have to get away from their ego to figure out they're not the God. They're not God. And so if you're not God, well, then you're trying to figure out what is God's rules and plans. And if you know that, then you know inside of you, as you keep trying to learn those and kind of put those into memory and habit, you're going to have, a guilt feeling if you do something wrong. If you release, guys, you know that's going to happen. You're going to feel good for maybe 3-4 seconds, and then you start feeling guilty. That happened to me many, many times. And so the thing is that what you really want to do is realize that the evil one's around. You're going to have those temptations, but the stronger you become in your journey, in your battle, the stronger you become, the less you're going to have those temptations, and the less you're going to feel like I have to worry about this. I'm going to have to beat myself up on it. That's the less of that, because the stronger you become, the more inside of you, you're not losing energy. Yeah, you may still be not on monk mode. You may still be thinking about things at times. You may have some fallback on that. But for the most part, you're still doing a good job of trying to live the lifestyle. And again, we look at the lifestyle. Lifestyle to me is the key. When you look at the lifestyle that you want to live, we want to be the most effective, efficient people, and we want to get closer to God. My battle, because I had 47 years of basically kind of moving back and forth, is I'm trying to get to the Lord from a relationship standpoint more and more and more. And I sense that as I'm getting into 800 some days, it's getting better. Now, I'm not where I want to be, and I've still got a long ways to go. This is why I put together, and when I was reading and information research about people like Malcolm X, that, you're talking about a 12-year plan, and that's kind of what I'm on, a 12-year plan. Trying to do the best I can to not release as much as possible in 12 years. And, the thing is that you're going to have to continue to sacrifice that and to make that if you really want the end goal. But this is where the three-pronged type of discussion we have here is. I think, and I want to go once again, shout out to Joe USA and shout out to Sawbones, because your questions kind of relate in some way together. They connect. Because what we're really talking about is the spiritual type of world. Your conscience, the evil one, your retention is physical in some ways, but it's also a big mental type of thing. It's a mental type of block that you have to kind of push through to say, okay, I'm not going to release. I'm not going to feel guilty, right, about not releasing, and I'm certainly not going to feel guilty that if it does release. But the bottom line really is that you cannot let the temptation control you. This is where you become stronger and you become a superhuman person with all that energy you've kept. You become a superhuman being because you basically, the anxiety is not there. Part of it is the anxiety. I think you're conscious, you start feeling guilty. The evil one can step in, take advantage of that, and all of a sudden now you're feeling guilty and depressed. This is where the evil one takes over. And the stronger you are when it comes to retention, the less depressed I believe a person is. Because I believe that they keep a lot more of their body nutrients, their all the strength that they have, and they're able to do a lot more with that because they're stronger. And as a result of being stronger, you're going to be able to fight off a lot of these temptations better, and you'll be able to deal more with the guilty consciousness that you may have one way or the other. But I think the thing is that you should never feel bad about the religion you're in. You should never feel bad that the fact that you're living a certain lifestyle. It's all a process, and I think that Joe USA said that in some ways, that this is a process, and that it's just part of the tools and matrix and things that you have and you're doing. But on the other end of this, that you have to correct some behaviors. The Bible definitely talks about the fact that you should have retention. You should not be, spilling out your energy, or else it's called dirty. You're dirty. And I think I read from certain quotes of the Bible when we said that. You're actually dirty when that happens. And I think that's kind of the key to it. So anyway, thank you, Joe USA. Thank you, Sawbones. I appreciate the comments. Like I said, I'm not going to put people in the titles because I just want to make sure that I'm not kind of offending somebody by doing that. And so, but I will make this title, and I'll send it out this morning, guys. And I hope you guys have a great day, and battle on. And we'll talk again really soon. Take care.